All right. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is the Board of Finance second day of hearings with the town departments on the 2021-22 municipal budget. We are joining Dimitri Paris in our Recreations, Arts, and Youth Department on page 427. All right, Dimitri. Tell us what you got.
Right. What do I have? A great question. So, as we all know, this has been a very challenging year. I bet you've heard that phrase more times than I can count, or you can count, but probably no more so than in parks and recreation this year. Approximately a year ago at this point, we had already been slowly grinding to a halt with pretty much all of our programming opportunities, and well, almost to this very minute, that's where it has remained. Almost everything that we would normally be putting into a programming space no longer existed, or distancing, or the schools being closed, sector rules, you name it, would all be fighting against any of those things running as we normally would. So that's the past, and it's been a long slog, as you well know. Things are looking decidedly brighter. The most recent sector rules have certainly shown that there is light at the end of the tunnel for all of us. We have had some very productive meetings with the Board of Education, which directly impacts everything from arts to our regular recreational programs within those spaces moving forward. Certainly, camp is looking to be something more of a traditional opportunity for our residents this year. The new sector rules came out on that last night, so that increases the capacity and cohorts to a manageable number. So bad year, better one coming along, and I entertain any and all questions about where we were, where we are, and where we're going from the board.
Dimitri, do we have a timeline for when programming can start to increase? Any guidance with?
It's really dependent entirely on when we have the available space. So going back to the conversations with Dr. Semmel, he's certainly facing and has faced significant challenges with managing his internal space, and the way that it's been reconfigured to deal with their challenges meant we couldn't really do much of anything. From what he is indicating, that is likely to sort of unravel itself over the course of summer. Fall 2021 in the school system is likely to look more like it has in years past, which means there would be a gymnasium, for example, in full operational use. So that is what we're all targeting for. In the shorter term, we have already started re-entry programs at Hillcrest School. We're making active plans right now for our summer camps, both traditional Little Tot camps as well as some of our sports camps as well. And those are looking to go off without traditional change or timing this summer. So by the time we get to the back end of things, we should be back in the gymnasiums and running our full programs as in years past. Conversation yesterday, it really is like sometimes hour by hour with the way things changed. It seems that we may be able to run some programming in the auditorium for our arts programs, our youth and arts programs. We'll know more about that in the next couple of days, but even if that doesn't happen, we're going to be running those programs in a modified form, if need be, in various outdoor venues. We'll run them at the amphitheater. As soon as the numbers open themselves up to whatever we're allowed to do, we're going to try to open up the opportunities and see who is willing and comfortable to come back.
Any other questions in arts and youth and recreation? Mary?
So Dimitri, you have as one of the goals for beginning to offer Zoom classes. So is that to supplement, or is that in case things don't go as we are hoping? Like, would you consider offering both?
Yes. Currently, there are definitely opportunities that have come from this pandemic that have sort of given us a different perspective on different types of things that we may be able to offer to a wider range of folks than we ever have been able to do before. You know, the same old, you know, you just sort of continue along with what works. We've had reason to have to change. We ran Zoom classes actually fairly successfully, or at least I should say successfully, in that we had responses to them and they were fairly consistent. So we're going to gear ourselves up to be able to do Zoom classes or to supplement existing classes where we may be able to just put those classes out on a YouTube or on our own channel.
Okay. Mary, was that good? Elaine?
Yeah, thank you. I just have one question on the aquatics program in the summer. I know we just spent a lot of money repairing the pool, and I'm trying to understand if we are intending to limit the hours, or do we think that's something that the state might open up?
Again, speculating on what our governor is going to do is folly. However, it certainly does appear that all of the recreational lobbies, and that is exactly what it is, have been putting significant pressure on that administration to open up as much as humanly possible, and he has consistently moved in that direction. So my suspicion is yes, we should see, if anything, a less restrictive opportunity for access to any of the pool sites.
Okay, it seems to me that last summer that was one of the few things we could do, although we had to limit the number of participants. Both limiting the number of participants and limiting hours doesn't seem to help our residents very much.
No, it was, you know, any port in a storm to try to do anything was our goal internally. So whenever we had an opportunity, we attempted to run a camp. I would be the first one to admit that that was not a success. However, being able to run the pools on a limited basis, we never didn't have a spot filled. So there was clearly a desire by the general public to use our facilities. And so I was more than happy to provide that.
And do you think if you had more hours, you would have filled them up too?
I think if the limitations on the number of people in a given space was larger, we would have filled it up, because it never stopped. Whatever,
No,
you know,
I'm sorry, Dimitri. What I know you could fill every space we had, and I saw people complaining they couldn't get spots, or that people didn't show up, and then they wanted to get some system to give the spots out once there was a no-show. Kind of like a waiting list. If I get there at a certain time and 15 minutes later, all the people haven't shown up, do I get to go in? I don't know if we ever did anything like that, but my question is, if you had more hours, would you have been able to fill those hours?
yes,
Okay.
because it would have been a later hour using the same limitations of how many people could be in that space. We would just put in another block. So
And
we go ahead.
do you have a system for filling it up if somebody doesn't come?
No, the problem with that occurred with that is that it was always about having contact tracing. So we would have the ability to put all of that information in a data bank so that it was there. If somebody just were to show up, it would have been problematic. And because the office again would have been closed on the weekend when a lot of people really wanted to go out we didn't have the physical wherewithal to be able to gather, to collect that data.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions in Recreation Department? All right, so we are going to move on to the Parks Department, page 443. Dimitri will stay with us for that. Ben's going to have a tough time deciding to stay with the amusement park or to go back to field maintenance for the field, but it's okay. All right, Dimitri, let's talk about the Parks Department.
Give me 1 second. My computer is being wonky. My world of remote has its limitations. Despite having a very pretty background, I am literally the boy in the bubble. I've been living in a Chevrolet 2500 for the last 365 days. What is our magic number, our page number, folks? 400 and what?
443.
43.
Thank you. Come on, baby. Almost. Okay, we are there. So, I believe George gave you the sort of the basic rundown of some of the restructuring that's currently going on in DPW, and no more so than in the Parks Department. So, do you have any specific questions based on what George has already presented? But I can elaborate on any of that.
A question, Lainey?
Go ahead, Elaine.
Thank you. One of the things we talked about last year was the tree removal because of the blight on certain trees. Can you update us on the status of that?
Sure. So that has been going in earnest. We have actually most recently gotten to almost, I know it's too many caveats here, but we almost have all of our data that has historically been crafted around any of our tree removals and all of the work that has been going on in the past year, essentially in Bill's new database for our tree ward. So we can track everything, every tree, every size, every height, every damage, everything. We have literally a few more to plug in that were previously unreported. But to answer your full question, the emerald ash or blight has not gotten really much better in a great many ways. We have a few other challenges with oak trees now, but it really hasn't triggered in town, but it will be here very shortly. And we continue to take down very large mature trees at record levels. It has certainly pushed our budget well past what it has ever been intended to financially handle in short, to put it short and quick.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions? All right. I do have one quick question for you on the field maintenance contract.
Yep.
Was there any rebate this year with the decreased usage? How did that work out?
Well, decreased usage is actually not what occurred this year.
Okay.
When we all met and when we were determining how to move forward last year, I think the assumptions were, and I would be certainly guilty of it as well, we saw no light at the end of the tunnel, and so we had reductions within that field maintenance contract. But a funny thing happened once the sector rules started to change. So not only didn't, the spring, which was clearly fully locked down, not happened. It doubled down in the summer. So everything that occurred or should have occurred under the field maintenance contract in, say, April, May, and June ended up happening all in July, August, and September. So all of the field grooming, all of the lining, and quite a significant larger degree of field repair occurred under the field maintenance contract simply because everybody was crawling out of their skin and needed to get back into the parks. So we did see some savings, but certainly not what we had anticipated. I think it was between $15,000 and $17,000 when we tracked every single service that Diamond had provided for us. The only areas that never occurred at a later date were the things that were canceled for the Board of Education itself. But all of the rest of the supplementary leagues, rec leagues, all occurred at just another time.
Any other questions in parks? And the next department is the tree warden. We kind of just covered most of that. Page 459 for those following along in the budget book. Anything else you want to say about trees, Dimitri?
Well, I think we've landed in a new normal when it comes to Gesundheit, a new normal for the tree budget. We're able to make sure that whatever we're doing is absolutely necessary at this point. And whatever number we are comfortable budgeting for, in much the same way as we budget a snow budget, we may be fortunate and not have to spend a significant amount of money in a given year, or we may just draw the short straw and have a lot of failures. A lot of the work that we ended up doing this year, I'll say somewhat fortunately, was captured by the Isaias storm. So we can cross our fingers that we have another, or change the way that we want to actually budget the tree accounts. I believe that to accurately report what's really happening, it needs to be a little bit more robust. But I completely understand why we are doing it the way that we are doing it, and I'm comfortable that from a safety standpoint, we are addressing any pressing needs that might be an issue for the general public.
Okay. Any questions on the tree warden?
Yes, please. Dimitri, I'm trying to understand the, first of all, it says full-time salaries, but there are no full-time salaries. Is that correct? We just got a wrong category?
Yes, there are really only a part-time tree warden, and there's a Lilliputian part-time tree warden.
Right, and then we are adding another part-time tree warden.
I had requested that, but I do not believe that was approved unless I'm
The way I'm looking at it, it looks like the Lilliputian, can't say the word, is gone, and you have two half-time tree wardens, deputy and or whatever we call it, part-time tree warden, new position, and it's equal to the existing one.
Shame on me.
You lose excuse me, you lose the 206 hours, but you pick up 1,040. Not sure where the savings on the the savings on the reorganization is pulling them out. Am I reading that wrong, Maria? You're muted still, huh?
Yeah, still having mouse issues. Yes, that is correct. And the reason it's in full-time, the other position, is because, yeah, they should be in part-time, but Warren has always been in full-time, I think, in the past because he was eligible for benefits. but we should be changing it to part-time, all the other.
Right. I just think we should recode that
Yeah.
and make it clear that they're both part-timers.
I agree.
They are, well, Warren hasn't received benefits. I
Right.
know that for a fact.
Right.
Right. They should
We
have been.
changed that. We just didn't change the department code, or the internal code. So you're going to end up with two part-timers, 2,040 hours.
Well, thank you. That will make a tremendous difference in terms of what we're able to do. And I did not realize that was approved. My apologies to all. But the intent behind that was really actually start succession planning. Warren has long been talking about trying to see who would be the next full-time tree warden, and it's going to take a little while to sort of tee that up. So the opportunity to do this is tremendous and exciting, and thank you if this goes all the way through.
Can I address the change from full-time to part-time? It will cause the Board of Finance to make a cut at the full-time and then increase the part-time when you're voting.
Okay,
So I'll
and you'll
make-
remind us.
I'll make the note.
Okay, thank you. Dimitri, just for those who are new to the board, can you just give a quick, like 2-sentence background about why we have a tree warden? I know it's a requirement that we have to have a tree warden, and what the qualifications are supposed to be.
So yeah, that is a fact. Every town has to have a designated tree warden by state statute. There are a host of obligations. One of which you have to be a named tree warden, which can be bestowed upon any number of people. But at the same time, you should have a background in arboriculture, taxonomy, various diseases and things that afflict an urban forest. They ultimately have care, custody, control of all of the trees that exist within the right-of-ways, and if so designated, any other properties. Some communities give it all to that position. In the town of Trumbull, some of that rests within yours truly, Parks and Rec Superintendent, within public grounds and parks. That's really the short story, but really he's there to just make sure that the urban forest is sustained and make sure that the general health and safety aspects are maintained for the citizenry of the community.
Have we ever talked about, is it something that could be regionalized? Could 2 towns share a tree warden?
I don't know legally to answer that question. I'd have to dig into that. I'm not sure if every community has to have it named, so I don't know that to be true one way or the other. From a logistics standpoint, I don't know how that would effectively work. In some communities, as I said, they complete the obligation by naming an individual and they meet the compliance. Trumbull is has a very heavily forested urban forest. I mean, it's large. Not all communities have that burden. And so I'm not really quite sure how somebody from another town could actually do the work that Warren and company are currently trying and struggling to do on behalf of the town.
Okay. Thank you. Did I cover, were there any questions that I missed? Wow, Dimitri, you got off easy this year. That was pretty quick.
I'll send chocolates.
Excellent. Well, while you're out in the car, make the rounds.
We want flowers.
Thought you wanted chocolates.
It's the spring. It's spring. We want flowers.
You could be like Johnny Appleseed.
We've all been sitting in eating enough because of COVID. We need outside stuff.
I'll do it. I got you.
All right. I've been given the go-ahead to keep going. We don't need a TV timeout at this point. So Dan Newman, I know you're on somewhere. Oh, there you are, Dan. We're going to go move on to the BEI, the Business Education Initiative, on page 397. Hi, Dan.
Noon. How's everybody?
Good. What you got for us, sir?
Well, I'm going to presume that you folks have had a chance to read the material that Maria was able to provide to you. We're looking to try to do in 2021-22 what we had hoped to do in 2020-21. Basically, it's a no change, instant replay, and try to give all these students the opportunity for hands-on experience with what does life look like after schooling that we were not able to do this year, except through some virtual approaches that they work, but not nearly as well as all the in-person types of things that we normally do. So with that, I'll throw it to you with any questions that you might have.
Okay. I just have one. There's the support for the online college and career readiness is in the Board of Ed budget, Vicki? Or Maria?
Yes, as far as I know, that is true. The Board of Ed paid for that program. So I don't know.
It
whether
has in the
that's
past. The only reason it came into discussion this year is that there's concern that the budget is so tight on the Board of Ed side that they're fearing it might get cut. So I was trying to make assurance that we could have that, because that's really what drives all of the in-person activities. And if it's gone, then we have a really, really tough road to hoe. If it's in the Board of Ed budget, we're in good shape on that one.
Well, I guess either Lainey, you can ask that question on Thursday night to see if
Yeah.
they know if it's in their budget, and then you guys can make a decision from there.
Okay, Mark? Wait, you're still muted, Mark. I'm sorry.
I'm double muted. Sorry about that. So, Mark Metzger, Board of Finance. So, just a quick question. You know, probably just showing my ignorance, but why isn't this just part of the Board of Education in totality? Like, why is it not just part of their budget or part of their programming versus on the town side?
The roots of this, Mark, go way, way back before my time, before probably any of our time, when it was the first selectman and the Board of, the first selectman, John Anik, and a couple of other community people were not able to get the support of this in the Board of Ed and felt it was so important for the business and community that they wanted to be sure that it was funded, and therefore it became a town activity.
Okay.
That's my best understanding.
Okay. Yeah.
It also,
I think it's a great program. It's a
the other
wonderful
element of it,
program.
Mark,
I was
too,
just
and
curious.
the other element for everybody's benefit is it's not only the public schools, but St. Joe's, Christian Heritage, the elementary schools, and the Catholic schools are also participants to the extent that they ask to be. They aren't as involved as we would like them to be, but whenever they pop up with requests, Kathy, when she was over at St. Catherine's, was a good participant. Kathy McGannon, that is. Are you still here, Kathy?
Yeah,
Maybe,
she's on.
maybe not. So anyway, it's all the schools.
Never unmute.
There you
Here.
are.
I'm here.
Everybody in Trumbull is able to benefit from the existence of the BEI, not just the public schools as well. That's another reason why it's not in the Board of Ed.
Great. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate
Sure
it.
thing, absolutely.
Mr.
Laney?
Tingminelli?
Dan, good morning. Dan, can you
Paul.
remind me, how you doing? Can you remind me, how do you define success?
Success in most respects, Paul, is by how many students take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to them.
And how many is that?
Well, we were on track to go over 5,000 student touches. I'll call it that. That's probably not the right term. Student experiences.
Mhm.
Last school year, we got up to about 3,400 before COVID shut us down.
And that's over the course of a budget year?
That's of course over our school year. And it is a budget year too, yeah.
Okay,
So it's almost 5,000 or more than 5,000 in this upcoming year is what we're hoping for. That's what we're on track for the last year. It's a lot of
Great,
kids,
thanks.
a lot of
Thank
kids. Yep.
Elaine?
Yeah, I just wanted to add for Mark, Dan is right. That's pretty much what happened. And John Anik fought to keep it, and the Board of Ed would put it in, would put it out. They have other priorities. And so it was separated. So it was its own priority. But yeah, Dan's absolutely correct.
Thanks, Elaine. Your background, Elaine, is probably
Yeah.
better informed than mine was on that one.
Scary to know I'm around long enough that I was there when it happened.
There you go.
Come here, buddy. Sorry, I thought I muted myself before I was talking to the dog. Anybody else have any other
I thought I
questions
was
for
your new
Dana?
buddy.
No. No, my buddy is being really well behaved, so I'm being nice. Any other questions for Dan and BEI? Elaine?
Yeah, it's really not for Dan and BEI, but since, as Vicky pointed out, we should ask the Board of Ed if they're going to continue that 3,700 in support. The one last question I don't think we've asked the Board of Ed is, given the current allocation, what will they be not doing from their current budget? There are a number of items that we asked them to do specifically in our letter and in their operational audit. And I think it's important we know if any item in the operational audit won't be accomplished with their existing allocation. Thank you.
I did have a conversation and follow-up when I sent our questions over. They're preparing answers to those for Thursday night as well. And we did ask them at the current staffing level, or current staffing levels, what they wouldn't be able to do at that number.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, get off easy again, Dan. That's it.
Always a pleasure. Thank you. If any follow-up questions, by no means be bashful. I'd look forward to hearing from you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
So in our next segment, we've accomplished some of the departments last week. Maria, were you able to get in touch with Jean Rabineau or Tracy Vonick to move them up a little bit time-wise? We're going to be running a little bit ahead.
I don't know if Tracy got it, but I saw
Jean.
the email.
I don't have their contact information unless I email them.
Okay.
Yeah. He
All
was
right.
planning to get on, but in about half an hour.
That's fine. What we'll do is we'll skip around a little bit if it's okay with everybody. We'll do the departments that we can do, and then hopefully we'll catch back up into our time. Maria, can you reach out to Lynn Steinbreck, see if she'll be ready a little bit earlier than expected? And perhaps the solution.
Rainey, are we not taking a lunch break?
There wasn't one in the schedule. Would
Yeah.
you like to take a
Yeah.
break, or would you like?
I'd like a break. We've been sitting here a long time. I need some time.
So why don't we do this? Let's go through. Well, if we're scheduled to have Tracy Vonick come in a half an hour, why don't we take a break now and then we'll come back then? Does that work for
45.
everybody?
Yeah,
Okay. Very good.
thank you.
Bill, you okay with that? All right, so we'll see you in a little bit.
So what's the resuming time?
We'll come back for, how about 12:40?
Okay.
Thanks, Lainey.
Thanks.